So this has got to be one of the most infuriating experiences I've had for a very long time. And this is very much a name and shame video because I want people to know that this is precisely what happened from my experience. I'll show you some details, I'll show you some screenshots to prove that it happened, and a little bit of guidance as to what you should do if you end up in this position. So many of you will know that I've spoken in a few videos now about my trouble with 3, the mobile phone company. Now, aside from the shoddy network service that I've experienced in my personal experience in my own home, traveling around, it's been useless on trains, it's been useless in certain parts of town that I go to, and ultimately it was just rubbish in my personal experience. And now, it was supposed to be an unlimited package, which is kind of useless if it doesn't really work. So it doesn't matter if it's unlimited or not. That was the first problem. So we put up with that for ages. Now we had 2 main accounts. There was me and my wife. We had 2 separate accounts. That will be important later. Then we also wanted to have our son have access to the internet when he went abroad with the school. And so we wanted to tag on a number and make sure that he can access the internet and call us, obviously, when he gets to the country of destination. So I spoke to 3 and I said, can we please have another phone number to let my son have it so he obviously can call us in emergencies and so on? No problem, they said. We can't open another account, they said, but we can tag it onto yours, my account. So again, this will be important later. So they tagged his number onto my account. So okay, I paid a few extra pounds a month and they tagged it onto my account, and that was that. Also, I thought. Again, the service wasn't particularly brilliant, but we weren't too fussed about it. We don't make that many phone calls that we absolutely rely on, so I just didn't really think about it too much. But when he did actually go abroad, you've probably guessed, or you've probably heard from my other videos, that it did cause him problems. So I contacted 3 beforehand and said, just to make sure, you know, we've got roaming turned on, this should work, he should arrive there and be able to use the internet and be able to call us. Yes, that's fine, they said, but obviously that didn't happen. When he arrived, he couldn't connect. He had to go to a friend whose mobile phone company did work, and one of the teachers who's obviously, you know, theirs worked as well. Then I'm on the chat support with 3 frantically. This is like 1 in the morning or something when they arrived. Me frantically saying, can you please make sure this works? Now they said, we need to send a code to the number to prove that it's actually the number that you're talking about. I said, there's a problem there. It doesn't work. That's why I'm calling you. It's on my account. It should work because it's my account. I'm authorizing you to make sure roaming works, etc. And eventually, they sorted that out, so roaming started working again. But that was just the first bump in the road of this whole frustrating process. But culminating in February earlier this year, I decided enough is enough. This is just rubbish. I'm moving away. So our contracts had expired and I wanted to move to EE. Because funny story, I saw some guy in a Five Guys, and we were deep into the shop. My phone obviously didn't work with 3. But he was there scrolling around, watching videos. I said, excuse me, mate. I said, can I ask you, which mobile phone are you with? Because obviously your network works. He said, I'm with EE. I said, thank you. EE is my new provider then. So after that, I then signed up with EE. So we then signed up 3 accounts with EE. 1 for me, 1 for my wife, 1 for my son. And it's been brilliant ever since. So shout out to EE because they've been brilliant so far. But back to 3. Because that wasn't the end of the story. Now, they gave me pack codes for all 3 numbers. Now, to be fair, I kind of instinctively knew what was going to happen. And you've probably guessed what's going to happen, but probably not the extent of what's going to happen. I kind of guessed that they were somehow going to screw me over with the 3rd number if we didn't actually port that number across. Because long story short, what happened was we ported 1 number across, I changed mine, and we ported 2 numbers and we didn't port the 3rd one. So the 3rd one we didn't port across. Now here's the problem. There should have been 2 accounts, but there was 3 numbers and 2 numbers attached to my account. But I somehow knew that they were going to screw up that 3rd number. And in short, they did. Now, allow me to prove to you that even had I wanted to pay a bill that they said was outstanding for that 3rd number, I couldn't have done. Because when I log in, obviously, my wife's account zeroed out and that disappeared completely. When I log in, it says current amount due £0 and no active lines found. So just to be clear, 0 amount due and no active lines found. So I thought that would be it because it was all done and dusted. Not so, because actually then I get another bill and I contacted them and said, hey, look, you're supposed to have cancelled this down. You've sent me a bill. I don't have the screenshot of that to hand, but it was about £20 or thereabouts. I think it was like another month or something that they, for some reason, had put on the bill. So I said, no. I gave you notice. I closed all the accounts. Yes, reported 2 numbers, but not the 3rd one, etc. If that's your mistake, fine. But please sort it out. But that wasn't before they reported it to my credit file and said that I'd missed a payment. Now, that's really irritating because, I mean, I don't rely on my credit history and my credit report, but many people do. As it happens, I have no mortgage, no debt, nothing. And so it doesn't really affect me, but I know that it affects a lot of people. If people rely on their credit report, I'm a former mortgage advisor, so I know that if someone's in the middle of a mortgage process and they get this flagged up, they've missed a payment, that might kill the mortgage. At least it would have back then. Maybe not now. Maybe they're a little bit more sensible and they look into these things, but who knows? I do know that previously you could put a note on your credit file, which is part of why I'm doing this video, to sort of humbly to educate you, to let you know what you need to do about these things. You absolutely have to dispute these things. Now, this is not a sponsored video, but I use totallymoney.com because it gives me an easy way to check these things and dispute these things, which is absolutely what you must do. So I spoke to 3 in the first instance and said, look, you've made a mistake. They sort of agreed that they'd made a mistake. I suppose they will say that they don't officially acknowledge that it was their mistake, but they rectified it, if you know what I mean. They, as a gesture of goodwill, they credited the amount to the account. They told me they zeroed it out, ignore any future bills, and that will be that. Also, they said. As for the aforementioned credit reference, where they told the reference agencies that I'd missed a payment, I disputed that. There's a button, if you click view affected accounts, obviously that's not on this screenshot here, you click that, then there's a thing below that says raise a dispute. You go through raise a dispute. There's a whole list of different things that you can choose from. The one I think that I had to choose, the only one that allowed me to type something in, which is the one that I suggest you do, because the others just say, it's just what they tell us. That's just the information they give us. One of them, I think it's the account history one. You choose, just choose one until it gives you a box to type something in. Then you make representations, because as a lawyer, that's what I have to do all the time. I make representations. So it allowed me the opportunity to type in and say everything I've just told you. I cancelled the account. We moved the numbers elsewhere. I'm now with another provider. I haven't been with them since February. This was then March and then May, I think, or April and May, whatever, that they've reported these missed payments. And by the way, I did give them adequate notice and I paid the notice period. I gave them enough notice and I paid them enough notice, so that wasn't an excuse. So you raise this dispute, you tell them the history, you tell them what happened, you tell them it's wrong, you tell them you dispute it. And in that case, I got the email to say that the dispute has been successful. While I'm recording this here, I will try to find the screenshot where I can show that it was successful, but I will do that while I'm recording the video. So here it is. Dear Daniel Shensmith, thank you for your recent dispute about your credit report. Your dispute's been successful. We're now making arrangements for your credit report to be amended. In many cases, this will be updated in the next few days. However, please allow several weeks to see these changes on your credit report, which again, I stress, if you're in the middle of a mortgage application or a loan application or whatever application you need, I don't support credit cards as such, but if you're in the middle of something you need, this can have a really bad effect on your credit report. The supplier comments, which I haven't put on screen here, I've clipped it off. They essentially say the credit file has been amended accordingly. Customer can call 3 customer service for further information on the account. That's all they said. But TransUnion, which is who sent this back to me, they confirmed that the dispute was successful and they removed that from my credit file. I thought that was that. Silly me, because I really thought that that really was it. But lo and behold, I get another bill that says, you owe £12. I'm thinking, where did £12 come from? The monthly amount, I never went over the monthly amount. It was a set amount of about £20 or so, £20 and pence. So £12 I'd never seen on these bills. So I get a bill through for £12. And where's the £12 come from? Because even when I paid for the second line on my account, it wasn't £12. But anyway, I get this bill through, so I thought, okay, let's log in and see if I can see the £12. Me being me, I was thinking, like, maybe I'll just pay it just to shut them up, even though I agree that's wrong, but it's not really worth my time to argue about it. It did take me an hour again to go through because I decided against paying the £12 out of pure principle. But when I logged in, sure enough, £0, and it wouldn't let me pay even if I tried. £0 outstanding, and no active lines are found on this account. So once again, I'm really frustrated. So then I think, oh, now they've probably reported that again as another missed payment. So sure enough, I log back into totallymoney.com, not sponsored, and sure enough, you've recently missed a payment. And then I go into the details, and sure enough, Hutchinson 3G UK accounts with missed payments, last reported on the 1st of May. They reported another missed payment. And so this is actually, and so that's the reason actually I didn't just let it go with the £12 because I thought I have to rectify this anyway. So I went back to 3 yet again and said, look, you've still screwed this up. So it took me an hour on the chat because I thought that might be quicker than the phone. Actually, it worked out to be about the same as the last time I phoned them. And eventually they didn't quite agree that there'd been a mistake. They said, sadly, there's no mistake on 3's part here. I have to say that for legal reasons. They dispute that there's any mistake on their part. I said, well, there is, because we left you in February and we took both accounts with us. And this third number that I've been talking about was attached to my account. So not only could you not have opened another account in my name, because I didn't give you permission to do that, but you couldn't open an account in my child's name because neither I nor he gave you permission to do that, and it's probably unenforceable anyway. But it's totally wrong because you told me when I cancelled it that it would disappear with my account. And in any event, even if I wanted to pay, when I log in, it wouldn't let me pay because there was nothing to pay. I could make a prepayment, but as you can see, where's the prepayment going to go? It's going to go onto this balance, not whatever. So I know what's happened. They've probably set up some account in the background in my son's name without his permission and without my permission. They've got this mysterious account that I can't access in the background somewhere that is sending me bills, which doesn't make any sense because if they're sending me a bill for my son's account for an account that I can't access, that I can't even pay if I wanted to, it's breach of GDPR multiple times over. And that's not even the end of the story, because I raised a complaint about this. And I said, look, I mean, this is the second complaint I raised. I raised one a couple of weeks ago and they didn't even respond to it. But I replied again. I made another complaint here. And then they rang my wife. Now, okay, we're married and, you know, it doesn't really matter. But what if two people have separated and they don't talk to each other and they ring the other party on their behalf and they tell them something nefarious just to make things worse for them? Because believe me, people are nasty sometimes and I've seen that. What happens then? So when it's my complaint about my account because they're telling me that I owe something, they don't ring me, they ring my wife, which again, the account should be completely separate. So that's a further breach of GDPR. So then they ring me back this morning to tell me, don't worry, we've sorted that now. It's gone through for the credit team. They're going to make the amendments. They're going to zero it out. They're going to close it out and sort it out. And I said, well, by this point, I think you spent so much of my time. If I were advising a client on this matter, this would be a several breach of GDPR, which typically will attract £200 or £300 as an administrative compensatory damages for the breach of GDPR, because there's no major detriment after this. It's just a misuse of my data because they're supposed to use it properly and accurately, and they haven't, in my view. So that would usually attract 2 to 3, at a push, £400 compensation. Really, really serious, we're up in thousands, such as, you know, sending the bill to the wrong address, things like that. We're up maybe a couple of £1,000s by that point because the data breach and so on. Here, I said it's probably worth £200 or £300 compensation. They said, well, we can give you credit of £20 on whichever account that you wish. I'm like, I really don't think you're listening by this point. I don't have an account with you. Why would you give me credit with 3 when I don't have an account with 3? That's pointless. And they said, well, we can give you credit on however you like. Maybe we can refund it to you or something. I'm like, well, maybe you could do that, but that's £20. I don't accept that. So I've said, no, I don't accept that. Send it back to your team. This is a major GDPR breach because I don't know what this fictitious account is that keeps billing me and reporting to my credit file twice that I've missed payments when I haven't. I have otherwise an exemplary credit report because I have no borrowing, so I can't have missed any payments. I mean, just for full disclosure, we have a credit card, so technically we have a borrowing facility, but we never actually use the amount we spend on it. We pay it back straight away, and that's only because we get points on the card. So that's full disclosure. So to that end, I suppose to some degree we rely on our credit report, but not really. And I only do that with that card because it's one of the Amazon cards. I get points back when we spend a certain amount with Amazon or with other people. So we get £5 or £10 gift cards every now and again. So it's a nice little sweetener that comes back into the account. And that's all. If you want to learn more about my money tips and tricks, I have my wealth channel where I've moved all my wealth stuff over there. That's Daniel Shansmith. I'll link it below. But this is the utterly infuriating experience I've had with 3. And so once again, I raised a second dispute on the second erroneous, in my view, erroneous report to my credit file. And apparently they've rectified it, but I don't know. So this is the latest in my saga with 3. And I've even used this to actually promote, this video is not sponsored, but I've used it to promote a sponsor of mine called Saley, because they do mobile data access. And I absolutely did not want to risk doing it with 3 again. So I bought a plan with them. If you want a discount with that, I'll link it below. Not a sponsored video, but they are brilliant. But this is my saga. So if you have this situation, just be mindful, they might report it to your credit file, but if you log in with something like totallymoney.com, it's completely free, and this is not sponsored, but you can go in there, you can check your credit file, ignore all the emails. They will bombard you with, you qualify for a card, and you qualify for a loan, you qualify for this, you qualify for that. Just ignore all those. Don't take out, I'm not encouraging you to take out any more money in borrowing. Don't do that, please. As I say, wealth over on my wealth channel. But if you get in that position, raise the dispute, check the one that allows you to type in representations as to why it's wrong. And usually within 24 hours, they're quite good. They will come back and they'll tell you that they've rectified it. But this is the latest saga. They deserve to be named because this is utterly ridiculous. And they just don't respond properly. But if this happens again, I may have no choice but to just go straight to the county court to get an injunction to prevent them from erroneously reporting to my credit file. Because as you can see here, anyone, and this cannot possibly be defamation, by the way, because anyone in possession of these facts, like I am, which you are now, you may reasonably come to the same opinion as me, which is, according to this, there's 0 amount due, no active lines found, I couldn't pay it if I wanted to, and yet, against that, they are reporting to my credit file that I've missed payments. Utterly ridiculous and outrageous. Not acceptable. 3, it's not good enough. How many people are you doing this to, screwing their credit rating, screwing their mortgages, screwing up their lives, when it's not their fault, just because they decided to go with another mobile phone provider? There's my rant over. I hope it helps somebody. Do comment below. I know that a lot of people have experienced things like this before. Comment below. I hope this helps. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.